Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. And today I want to take a look at two new speed uniforms that are being introduced in the new update that's just a couple of days away now. I'm on the APK, I'm on the test server account here, and we're taking a look at Rogue, who I've built up, and you're gonna be surprised, and then Luna Snow. So we're gonna go through each of them and do a little bit of gameplay and talk about the changes. Now, as far as Rogue goes, she's sort of the opposite of Luna Snow. Rogue, although she has a uniform, it's not very good, and so, you know, Rogue basically hasn't been a good character since 2017, and so I consider this uniform to be a rework. I consider this to be on the level of Vision, because she was just so bad and so underused, and also just visually so hideous before. I mean, the base look, the Jim Lee look is nice, but yeah, this is just brutal. So yeah, for me, this is a Hawkeye Ronin-esque rework for a character, and you'll see what I'm saying when we get into the gameplay. Now, to brief you on the build here, we've got under 20,000 physical attack, which means she can go a lot higher. She's only level 60, she's geared 20, she's got some 5-star and 4-star Uru, okay. But taking a look at the stats, we're just under the cap on ignore defense and cooldown. 162 on the crit, and 47 on the crit rate. And then as far as the skills go, she got basically a top to bottom change on the skills. We don't really want to go too deep into the skills right now in this video, because we also want to talk about Luna. But like I said, it's like Vision. All 5 skills were changed. So if you were playing with Rogue before, this is a brand new character when you purchase the uniform. So you do have to take that into consideration. She's got a Power of Anger Hulk ISO 8 set, and she's got an obelisk. A crit rate 200% proc, damage proc. That's the increased damage by 200%. Obelisk, not a CTP. And the uniform is at rare, so again, we've got a lot of potential to push even higher with CTPs, with mythic uniforms, with, you know, maxed out awakened ISOs, with finishing her Uru, getting her to level 70, gear 25. There's a lot that still can be done. As far as the uniform options, I can't give you all of them, but I can give you the first 3 here. We've got Storm, we've got Groot's Secret Wars, which you can purchase for gold, and the third one is Nebula Team Suit. So, why am I so hyped up about Rogue? Well, you'll see. Let's just go into the gameplay. I'll save my sort of secret thing here for the end, but let's go into some gameplay first, and you can see what I'm talking about. So we're gonna actually jump in against Corvus. I was playing and I was tweeting out against Proxima, so I want to show you guys something new. We're gonna jump into a stage 40 Corvus, which I'm pretty confident she is going to do well against. Wink wink. And so we are going to have to give her strikers, but we're just going to give her very bare bones strikers because we want to focus on her damage. We are going to give her some nice supports here, so, you know, we're not going to skimp on my girl Rogue here. We're not going to go for a full clear either. So let's just set this up, and I'll be back in a second. So jumping into the gameplay, we're not going to use the buff. We're just going to open right away with 5, and we're going to try to land that damage proc. We didn't, so we're going to rotate over into 4. And you're going to see that this baby just does not mess around. We might actually die here because I made a mistake personally. Nope. Okay, awesome. We survived. The legend of Rogue continues, and you guys are going to, like, your jaws are going to drop and hit the floor. This is a stage 40. Yeah, I'm using the ignore dodge strikers, but if you think they're doing a lot of damage, you're kidding yourself. Look at this. Look at this queen. This is insane. This is the highest level I can do on the test account for Rogue. I mean, well, this is the highest on the test account I can do for Corvus. It's stage 40, guys. Stage 40, level 60, obelisk. Everything else that I said. Yeah, we've got double support here with both Nick Fury and Coulson, but this can get more bananas. This can get more bananas. I cannot wait. Look at this. Look at this. This is bonkers. I actually didn't expect it to be this good against Corvus. It was good against Proxima, but it's absolutely disgusting against Corvus. Look at this. 2.5 bars. 2.5 bars on her 5th skill. Please don't nerf this, Netmarble. I gotta stop. This is wild. I'm gonna kill him and not be able to test Luna. Okay, this is crazy. Yeah. So Rogue, very, very good after the uniform. Thank you, Netmarble. This is amazing. I really cannot stress how much of a banger this uniform is. Whew. I mean, yeah, this is amazing. Listen, I don't want to say too much. I don't want to spoil too much about Rogue because I want you guys to get hype. and I want you guys to see that there's actually even a lot further than that she can go. We're probably, I don't want to say exactly the percentage, but we're not at 100% yet. She can definitely go further than this. And on top of everything that I've said about, you know, the mythicking the uniform and the Uru and everything, check this out. Okay, for those of you that aren't familiar, Rogue has a very good tier 2 passive. If we take a look at her tier 2 passive, it's got 17% damage decrease, which is pretty good for PvP. She's got 23% guaranteed dodge, which is also pretty good for PvP. But here's the kicker. She has increased all buff effects by 20. And she's got increased all buff durations by 30%. Do you guys know who else has that tier 2 passive? Yeah, Lizard does. And Inferno does too, but there's someone else who has that tier 2 passive. That's right, good old Carol. And what happens? What happens when you give Carol a CTP of Rage? Yeah. You guys can do the math in your head on what that means for Rogue. I think she's going to be an absolute monster. So I really want to quickly highlight the skills here so you guys can see what is actually going on from top to bottom. She's got Physical Reflect for 10 seconds, Super Armor, All Defense, 4 seconds of Immunity, 35, 35, 15, All Attack, All Defense, All Speed buff for 10 seconds, which is wild. She's got a minus 10% all defense up to minus 55%. It ignores immunity for 10 seconds, which is beautiful. And she removes the active buff from the target. This is an amazing skill. It's fantastic for both PvE and PvP. And we'll get into a full review of her when the update comes out. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. Her 4th skill hits hard, even though it doesn't have any effects. Her 4-star passive is the same. Her Wild Blow also hits hard. It's got all defense down that doesn't apply to world bosses here. Power Drain Kick is amazing with 15% HP regen and the 40% increased physical attack. Also removing the active buff from the target, which is also good. Wink, wink, wink for PvP. And then Wolverine Slash is just damage. Hopefully, I mean, I don't think Netmarble is going to nerf Rogue before the update goes live. It's going to be so much fun to play as Rogue like this when the update goes live, because I think she's going to be a monster for all content. Moving on to Luna Snow. Now, Luna Snow, unlike Rogue, I'm just so excited for Rogue. Anyways, moving on to Luna Snow, she didn't actually get that many skill changes from her Andromeda suit. So I think a lot of people are going to be really heavily criticizing or scrutinizing or really putting this uniform under the microscope. Not aesthetically, because you might, like or dislike her look from one to the other, because it's long hair versus short hair, full body suit versus half suit thing. But in terms of how much better it makes her, because it's really important with a uniform that's so expensive and so difficult to rank up. You're going to basically have to either purchase a biometric subscription and also get other bios from somewhere else. So it's either 2 months and $20 of bio subscriptions to get the 900 bios to get her to Mythic, or it's a Mega Mythic uniform upgrade ticket, and those are pretty rare and hard to come by. So these uniforms, these paywall uniforms for characters like Namor, like Luna Snow, are very expensive. And so when a character gets a second one, you really have to look in deep to see how good it is. Now, Luna Snow is a really good character already. This uniform, although it doesn't change a lot, it does make her really, it makes the beast stronger. So we'll do a really quick comparison here so you guys can see, just in case you forgot. So let's just take a look here. We're actually going to change this over 1 second to Hulk. We're going to do our patented little push here. We're just trying to isolate one of the robots so that you guys can get a better idea for how many hits. And again, I'm not going to be too scientific here, but I just want you guys to see just a mini experiment here. So we're going to use her Andromeda suit, which I assume most of you have right now. Her first skill, you got the blue and dark blue orbs. Her second skill, you've got the icicles that appear, sort of like mini Iceman attacks. You got her third skill where she does a little pirouette, and you got the ice spikes. we have her infamous 4th skill. Now, they buffed this 4th skill because it was actually much worse, but there it is. You got some spikes thrown around, and you've got the Entice. So the Entice is going to kind of ruin my setup here by bringing them all together. Whatever, fine. We're just gonna have to go back. Well, you know what? I'm not gonna do this again. And then we have her 5th skill. Her 5th skill has a huge AoE, so I'm actually hitting 5 different targets at the same time. So keep that in mind. That's 70 hits. So that's what it looks like. Now you're gonna see from her new uniform that some of her skills seem almost the same, but they also seem tweaked. So take a look at her new 1st skill. It's pretty much the same, but now there's these purple orbs. So again, I'm gonna have to test this on my main account. It's hard to tell whether this is actually a damage buff. I would have to sit down and look at numbers and compare hits and all this stuff. Taking a look at her 2nd skill, this looks almost identical to her old 2nd skill, but again, when the little rocks explode, there's this new sort of dark purplish haze color that's appearing. Her 3rd skill, same sort of thing. You see they've really done a really nice job aesthetically, even for the skills that might not have changed otherwise, to give them these sort of effects visually that make them stand out from her old Andromeda uniform. The huge change here is on her 4th skill. They completely redesigned it, and I think it's a much better skill now. It applies some effects at the beginning of the skill, and then it applies some effects at the end. So right away you get an iframe, it applies the Entice right away, and then at the end of the skill it applies the cold resistance down. It's really important that it applies the cold resistance down at the end of the skill, because you can use this skill, and then when you get the cold resistance you go into other skills. So it tweaks their damage, it tweaks the damage of other skills for a longer time, rather than applying the cold resistance down at the beginning of the skill, and you would possibly lose some of the cold resistance down for other skills. This is especially important on her 4th skill because her ultimate skill has a long wind up. So this wind up will allow you to trigger your tier 3 skill when the cold resistance down is already applied. But I think the biggest change, and again, it's just one line of text, but the biggest change here from Andromeda over to the new uniform, you can see You and Me is just a freeze with a 15% max HP heal, and then I believe it's a 5-second Entice. It might be 6 seconds, but I think it's at least 5 seconds Entice, which is the same as Charm. Now her freezing dance is all of those things plus a 6-second Entice, with the -5 cold resistance up to -30 for 7 seconds. That's big. That's going to do a lot of damage. It ignores immunity. It works on world bosses. And there's going to be a 15% recovery. And there's a guard hit. So they added the guard hit as well as the all cold resistance down. So what I want to do here, we've got a CTP of energy. We've got a heroic uniform. It's not quite the perfect build here. We've got all 6-star ISO or Uru. Not the perfect build here, but it's pretty good. We're going to go ahead and exaggerate what I think this means against a boss who normally has very high defenses for elemental attacks. So hey, I know we said we were going to go up against Cull Obsidian, but I did the test against Cull Obsidian, and with his debuff removal, it didn't really seem that much different from one uniform to the next. So we're actually going to try this against Ebony Maw here. The only real challenge with Ebony Maw to test out is the fact that he has iframes, but we do have the Entice skill to sort of charm him and calm him down. But we want to see, you know, since she has elemental damage and he is weak to elemental damage, how much we can really pump out on this stage 37. Now keep in mind that because it's a stage 37, it's a pretty low stage, so that's why I went with Wasp and Arachnite. This is a very small buff. We're just getting a little bit of all attack, but you can see her damage is absolutely absurd because she's tier 3, she's a CTP of energy, and again, this is a stage 37, it's a very low stage. Usually you're going into the 60s for the most part with characters like tier 3 Luna Snow against Ebony, so yeah, we sort of have to contend with that. So taking a look here, we're doing quite good damage with her, you know, her regular uniform, her regular look here. We want to see how long it takes us to get down to 8 bars. Presuming we don't get iframe too hard, we should be getting here pretty soon. We're going to pop the last tier 3, and yeah, this should push us to the next. There we go. So yeah, we got there in about 1 minute and 5 seconds. You don't count that last bit because he would have gone anyways. So 1 minute and 5 seconds now is the time to beat. We're going to go with the same skill or the same team up, excuse me. Again, stage 37, pretty low stage with this build and these cards and this test account. But now we're going to go in with this uniform. This should make a difference because on top of the fact that he has low defenses, Ebony Maw, he has low elemental defenses, we're going to be reducing his cold resistance even more. Now, I thought the cold resistance down would work more against Cull Obsidian, but I didn't factor in his debuff, his cleanse, to constantly get rid of it, which I do think affected Luna Snow's chance and the amount of cold resistance down that she was able to add. But it actually applies pretty late in the skill, so you actually have to take that into account as well. That the cold resistance down really takes some time to, and actually we didn't even get the majority of the tier 3 skill there because he ran into his next phase. But yeah, it seems like the 4th skill adds the cold resistance really late, so you do have to sort of trigger that. Yeah, like it's basically, it misses the entire proc and it triggers for the next proc. It's quite late actually. I think possibly Netmarble should look into not doing that and having that triggered just a little bit early. But you guys can see here that we're quite a bit ahead. We're about 15 seconds faster, and I imagine that this is going to make, yeah, we're at 8.5, which is where he usually triggers, but he's mind controlled right now. So we're about 15 seconds ahead, which is pretty good, and I think that with higher stages it'll have even more of an effect, where, you know, you might have hit a wall with Luna Snow, especially with the CTP of energy. You might have hit a wall where she just can't push any higher, let's say stage 70 Ebony Maw. Now she'll be able to push higher into the 75s and up. Again, that might not be an appealing case for some players who aren't at that stage anyways, so we'll have to take a look in more depth. I think this type of uniform, because it's so expensive, requires a more in-depth look and more, you know, solo-focused video. But I wanted to give you guys sort of a first look. Both of these characters, Luna Snow and Rogue, got stronger. Rogue's strength increase, her buff is a lot easier to spot than Luna's, but they're both definitely stronger with their new uniform. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know who you want to see next in tandem. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.